welcome to Xena Warrior Podcast. My name is Vera and I am joined as always by my two disappointed co-hosts, Katie.
Hello.
And Livy.
Hello. That was well chosen.
You're welcome,
That probably
guys.
took you 5 seconds to figure out that was the adjective.
Yep, absolutely. I came up with that one. It's not one of Nora's. Well, as you guys can see, this is our bonus Patreon-sponsored ep on Armageddon Now 1 and 2.
This was the first of our goals that we posted on Patreon. Thank you guys for helping us to meet it.
Yeah, absolutely. And sorry we bring it after Sacrifice has already been posted.
Yeah, it's a little out of order, but you know what? This is about time travel. So,
okay.
That's
non-linearity.
Totally
Yeah.
what we meant to do all along.
And this way we can look back at all of Season 3 of Xena and see both how this, extends out from maternal instincts and connects to sacrifice and maybe has relevance to episodes coming up in Season 4, IDK.
Yeah.
Well, let us begin with Armageddon Now Part 1. This one's written by Paul Robert Coyle and directed by Mark Beasley.
Mark Beasley, as you may recall, directed A Necessary Evil, so he's good at the goddess fights.
Yeah, and he's, generally a very visual director. I wouldn't say
Not
these
his
were...
best outing.
Oh, yeah.
Part 2 had some verve in a few places. But yeah, I thought that scene where Callisto is stalking Alcmene in the field.
That was the only thing.
But I think it's just because they had good weather. They're in a nice field and it's sunny and you're ooh.
New Zealand is doing all the work.
Exactly.
Not all the work.
Most
Some of
the
it.
work.
So what's the overall plot of this one?
Okay, Part 1.
Yeah, Part 1.
Okay, just Part 1. It's mostly setup, right?
Yeah, it's basically set up for Part 2.
It's just kind of connecting the dots. It's getting Callisto in the game and getting Ares in the game and taking Hercules out of the game.
Yeah.
And
Bye.
This is technically a Hercules light episode, even though we have also technically two Kevin Sorbos.
Yeah, but I guess, they put him in this bubble verse at the middle/end-ish of this episode, and it's a way of, I think, maybe making his load really light. He was suffering from a lot of health problems at this point in the run, so they were kind of confronted with the same issues they were confronted with when Lucy had her accident. They had to just really last-minute scramble. I was trying to read stuff about, what their plan was on Hercules if he hadn't had health problems. And, it sounds like it would have been much more these big crossovers with Xena and, kind of doing the Dayhawk plot simultaneously on both shows. I mean, clearly they're doing some of that here in Armageddon Now, but I think their original plan would have been even more ambitious.
This was the aneurysm in his arm?
Yeah, the aneurysm that led to strokes. It sounds really upsetting. Poor guy. We love to mock Kevin Sorbo, but that's no fun.
I mean, he was good in these.
Yeah?
Okay. Well, I do enjoy me some Sovereign TBH.
Do you really?
Because it's so bad.
Maybe it's so bad it's good.
Yeah.
Well, it's true that sometimes happens in Hercules.
Yeah, absolutely. This episode picks up literally right after Maternal Instincts.
Yeah, we get this montage of sadness that seems to lead right off Maternal Instincts, and even hear that music again, right? The funeral music.
Yeah, Effany.
Yeah, I was sad. I was where's Lucy's music? That's mine.
He wasn't doing
go-to.
it. It was Effany.
It's true. She was not doing it. She was too sad.
Yeah, and if you are maybe trying to vid Xena or something and you need some more footage of this, the part of Maternal Instincts, go to this episode because they have extra shots that are good. I thought it was really cool.
The only thing that's really annoying to me about this is it reminds me of how good the ending of Maternal Instincts is, and then immediately retcons it because Hope survives,
right?
Having been killed by Gabs,
right?
Way to take the sting out of that whole business.
Well, I mean, eventually, she comes
goes
back anyway.
At least leave it for a few episodes,
I guess.
Let us feel bad for her for a little while. It's weird to think about Forget-Me-Not happening, a few weeks from now. And, like, if you're watching Hercules as well, you're like, why is she sad about this? Her daughter's fine.
Well, her daughter was a bunch of ash that went into the air from the fire and then rained down on a village.
On, like, a homeless guy.
Yeah, and then she appears as, like, a weird orb
skeleton, like,
thing.
CGI.
Yeah, she looks like a weird alien monster, and she, like, takes the guy's skin and puts it on herself.
Which is a bit of sacrifice there. He's the first priest of the flesh.
Right. No, honestly, so she becomes this, like, burnt up person, really.
Yeah, she looks really freaky.
I think this is really cool. Like, honestly, like, I wish they had more of her in this, like, creepy way, because it did remind me of Cocoon. That whole thing from Sacrifice.
Horror.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, anything's better than that girl with the hair.
This is her, though.
I know. I'm not saying her acting was great.
The wild hair
is gone. Maybe that was my number one problem.
It's just the weirdo.
Yeah. Well, no, she was really scary. She, like, wears a hood because she's just, like, a burnt out thing.
Yeah.
And then at one point, Ares, like, picks her up.
Yeah, kind of, like, gives her this, like, squeeze.
Like a rag doll, shake kind of thing. And, the hood falls off and it's terrifying.
Yeah.
And it's, like, really weird seeing, a big giant guy like Kevin Smith holding this, like, small girl who has no skin.
Ooh, weird for later because they gonna fuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I wrote in my notes for that part. Just like, what? Ew.
Fine, I liked it.
I liked it too.
But yeah, I feel like she reads now in this makeup as sort of ageless. Like, she isn't so much a little kid.
Yeah.
I couldn't get a read on what it was.
She seems like the same actress, weirdly older, like she became like a teenager.
They do something to her voice, I think. Yeah.
Well, they make the voice lower.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's successful because you can still hear her acting there. However, do you guys feel like sometimes it wasn't that actress? Like, it was a woman in some makeup under a hood.
Yeah,
it's not
maybe
like
that's
a woman, not a small girl.
Part of why it's so weird is you can't quite get a read on who that person is in there. Yeah, but it's good. Yeah, I think this is maybe the most effective Hope other than Renee.
Well, yes, I agree big time with that. Renee being number one most effective Hope.
I like that baby that was sucking in her thumb.
That's true.
That was the best Hope.
That baby had
Renee.
some great crazy eyes.
What a great scene. No, the sweet one by the river.
Yeah.
It was a different baby than the Crazy Eyes one.
It's different than Crazy Eyes?
Yeah, I'm pretty positive.
All the different Hope babies.
Anyway.
So, guys, my main problem with this is that, Hope goes through this whole thing on Xena, where she belongs, and is burnt up.
Can we talk about how weird it is that Hope is just, like, there, and there's no mention that she's Gabrielle's daughter?
Listen. She was burned up. Her mother just poisoned her. She's completely sent off in a flame. Her next move is, you know what, guys? I'm going to rid the world of Hercules.
Right.
Like, that is so not what she would be doing.
Super bonkers.
So not
This was like an explicit Dayhawk instruction about Hercules.
It's so weird.
It makes no sense character-wise as a motivation for, like, Hope as a character who was just set up in Maternal Instincts, but... whatever. I guess it's a Dayhawk thing.
Yeah. I mean, you get
such a stretch.
Like, this is coming to Hercules. They gotta find some way of making it relevant to Hercules. They don't really succeed.
Oh my god. Talk about, like, the most, like, inorganic thing to happen. It's like bringing Hope to have anything to do with Hercules. Like, she does not care whatsoever.
And it's even crazier to me because so Hope, like, uses her powers to free Callisto from the cave, which is where we last saw her in Maternal Instincts. I hated how Hope tries to persuade Callisto to, like, take on her greatest challenge ever, killing Hercules. I was like, fuck you, whoever wrote this.
Robert Coyle.
Sorry, Paul Robert Coyle. You're very good. But, like, what a line. Come on. I know we're watching Hercules.
It's so stupid. And honestly, this episode had other really offensive lines that had to explain the plot of Xena, which means that it's, geared to people who only watch Hercules.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is so offensive to me.
Which is how when you watch, like, Sacrifice when and to
Yes,
like.
but I understand skipping Herc and watching Xena. I don't understand the vice versa.
Vera
of
needs
that.
Hercules explained to her, but she does not understand how anyone could possibly need
I mean,
the happenings of
it's
Xena.
offensive. Yes.
So yeah, it's nice to have Callisto back.
I mean, yeah, I like that she was like, "Bitch, I'm done."
Yeah.
To Hope.
I mean, I'm okay with this because I like the carrot that Hope dangles here. How she's like, I'm gonna redeem you, give you freedom from your pain. You're like, ooh, how she's gonna do that? Like, that's a new one for Callisto. I do like the deal they strike here, and actually, in retrospect, it makes me sort of roll my eyes at Sacrifice, where they're once again Callisto's trying to like get something out of Hope, even though that did not work out on Hercules.
Right.
So it makes Callisto seem a little bit silly that she would still be trying to get things.
They introduce a new power that's very convenient for this episode, which is that gods can travel through time.
It may seem convenient to this episode. I went ahead and did some research and found out that there was
took a bullet for us.
A Hercules episode from last season that also had a bunch of time travel. That thing with the Chronos Stone.
Oh, yes.
Here, that is something from this previous episode of Herc.
There were like a few episodes, I think, that were backstory for this one.
Yeah, stuff with a lady who's a hind. So
Yeah,
the hind's
the
blood.
hind's blood, yeah.
So, we, as you guys may be aware, none of us really know Hercules, the show. We're just coming into this trying to figure it out as it relates to Xena.
We've seen the episodes that have the actors from Xena on them.
That's true.
Like Lucy Lawless playing that bitch who liked to fuck centaurs.
Oh my god.
That was some good stuff.
That was strange. Her hair was so crimped.
Yeah.
Ooh, later.
Yeah, they were really into the crimped hair.
And then
this
later
show.
she comes back as like a ghost because she died
Yeah.
for some reason. I didn't
In a
understand why they had
fire.
to kill her in a fire.
Because she was on Xena now.
But then it was weird. They like do a like, oh, doesn't she look like somebody? Wink, wink.
Hate.
No,
Anyway, so
not relevant.
we've seen the most important Hercules episodes. There you go.
The gauntlet is what you mean.
Yes, absolutely. Jeez.
And
I forget that
Callisto's-
those are from
Callisto's
Hercules.
first episode on Hercules is also pretty good. Surprise, I think is its name. where
And then
she-
Innocence, the follow-up. Sorry, no.
Once
Buffy
we get to
joke.
the end of this, we'll talk about how important this series of episodes is for Xena fandom.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, absolutely.
Yes. We don't mean to say that like nothing on Hercules matters. Like these episodes do a lot of interesting things. And in
Yeah.
a way my frustration, like with Callisto's plot, let's say, is just like, why is this happening here?
On Hercules.
Yeah,
you mean.
why is
Yes.
this happening here? I mean, we'll put a pin in that because that's going to be a whole conversation when we get to the Cirra plot. Let's move on to one of the other fun relationships in part one, which is Callisto and Ares.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a sequel to Intimate Stranger where you get a lot of seduce and destroy.
Right. You probably ship this more than me.
I was kind of into it.
I like their chemistry and that they kept doing stuff in sync.
Yeah.
Like throwing fireballs in sync. I don't know.
Yeah, it was kind of fun to see Callisto, like, be a god, like, palling around with the other gods. Usually you have her as, like, the loose cannon, kind of doing her own thing.
Yeah.
It was fun to see her just kind of hanging with them for a little bit, even though it was totally obvious that she was using Ares. And poor dumb Ares. He never knows.
Yeah, I mean,
never knows.
Part of me was really not into a lot of this because it was Strife and Ares
Yeah,
hanging
Vera,
out.
what's your Strife feelings?
Oh my god, you guys. Strife is maybe the most annoying thing I've ever seen on television.
Good thing he just gets killed.
Straight up killed.
No, you suffer him for a really
lot.
long time,
and they
and
keep
then
throwing him around like a rag
Like
doll
10
Yeah.
times.
over and over, and he's always like, "Ow!"
yeah, and so it's basically like Callisto and Ares constantly being like, "Shut up, Strife," and then they like throw him.
But at the same time, and it's fun.
Well, it reminds me a little bit of Toby, fuck off from Romeo and Michelle.
Oh my God.
But like way worse. Yeah, and Joel Tobeck, who's a very important actor in Renpix, you know,
Oh,
he's like
yes.
everywhere.
He's in everything.
He's in Cleopatra 2525. He's like, well, he's on Xena as like random stuff. He was on Ash. He
Spartacus.
Yeah, and he goes like way back with Lucy. Just honestly,
Oh, yeah.
he's everywhere. But like I knew him as Strife, and I forever just been like, oh, that guy Because he's so the worst.
Yeah, I remember when he appeared as Baal in Ash, you just kept going like, ugh, I hate him.
Yeah, and he was great as Baal.
He's really good.
No, honestly, like, every other performance of his is so much better than Strife, but Strife is, like, maybe the worst choice he could have ever made.
It kind of reminds me of, what's his name? Matthew Lillard from the 90s.
I love Matthew Lillard.
Matthew Lillard.
But I can see how he would be, like, American Strife.
I really get that.
Yeah, I think that's what he was going for. Maybe he just like laid it on a little too thick.
Maybe.
Like Matthew Lillard is a little annoying.
90s Matthew
Yeah,
Lillard.
I guess so. They have a very
Renaissance
similar...
Matthew Lillard. Is
Yeah,
also very
the
interesting.
Lillard Sans is a great time to be alive. Serious actor Matthew Lillard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Back to Hercules.
The next thing in my notes that I wanted to discuss was the Sovereign.
Great, let's do it.
Let's describe his look.
So he is the Altverse Hercules.
He has been on episode before.
Yes, where, everything's like upside down in that world.
He's like Darkest Timeline.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hercules.
Literally, like, he has the goatee, the black, outfit, leather. Oh my
Literally
God, what did you
goatee.
guys think of this outfit? He has
It looks like he has bottle caps all over.
Yeah.
and
bottle
like
caps.
a metallic thong on his leather pants.
Yes, he's literally wearing one of those like cups. What do you call those? Crotch
Jock
container.
straps?
Yeah.
Crotch container. Yes, that's the official name of it. And
I
it
also
creaks,
thought his scorpion
guys.
necklace was very like Claire's.
If
You were a goth kid.
Hot Topic.
Maybe you're right. Yeah, Hot Topic. Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause, yeah, very goth.
But he like super creaks in that leather, especially when it's just him and, Hercules.
Mm-hmm.
So you really hear him.
He has his very famous line.
Yeah.
Okay. You told me a fact about
I
it.
did.
What's the fact?
So I went and researched this morning.
The one thing that really matters.
Yeah. So there's
We're about to change your mind about something.
I don't know how many people are aware of this. I mean, it's definitely out there, so people probably know this. But when the Sovereign arrives in our world, he thinks it's his world, and he's like, literally the line is like, wait a minute, this isn't my world. Disappointed! And it's a famous gift. And it's amazing. And there was like a leaked script page, and everyone was like, oh my God. The line is like, wait a minute, this isn't my world. You act disappointed, but he reads
There's a
the acting.
parenthetical
direction.
direction.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he reads it, and oh my God, Kim Sorbo is so dumb. He read that and
He
made
read
a line.
the description.
Yeah. So like that was the big thing going on.
The urban legend about this.
So like in reality, he was referencing a fish called Wanda.
Aha.
And Kevin Kline's, constant usage of disappointed, literally saying it like that. So it's actually really genius and really great.
Yeah, and it does come back at the end of part
very
2.
disappointed.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
So somebody really mean created that script page.
I guess, but he was like, oh, it went viral, so like, LOL, great publicity for everyone.
It never made sense to me, because if you've taken a screenwriting course, you know that you put that parenthetical before the line. So if he'd read it as if it were the line, he would have been like, disappointed! This isn't my world. So, okay, I'm glad to have this cleared up. Yeah. The plot is really elaborate, but the main point is that Callisto needs this hind's blood from the Sovereign. She just grabs it off his neck, and she has this dagger. So she gets the hind's blood on the dagger in this scene with Ares and Strife. And this is actually a pretty dramatic scene for a Hercules episode.
And it cleared some shit up for me about the pendant / hind's blood / dagger, which in our Sacrifice Part 1 conversation, I was like, what? Is it a dagger? Is it a pendant? What the fuck is it? I don't know.
It's both!
No one told me that it was a pendant that you squirted on a dagger.
Absolutely. And there's 2 daggers with it on it, technically. So this first one, I mean, she's doing this because no one's really done this before. It's just a test, right? So she knows that theoretically hind's blood can kill a god. So she puts it on in secret, and Ares can't see, and Strife certainly can't see.
But even though they can't see, like, Strife is trying to pacify her, right, in this moment
because
where
she
he's killed.
okay, so she gets in a fight with Ares, which was actually honestly a really cool fight. There's a lot of really awesome arm action and blocking.
Oh, this is the part where Hope, like, supercharges Callisto,
which
and
is
then
crazy.
all her punches connect with, like, this white flash, which was just puzzling. I was like, what is this power?
Well, it's like a
of
god.
Hope's?
Like, it's like a... Well, I don't know why she needs to rejuvenate her.
It was totally like something out of
Callisto.
Street Fighter, where you get the, like, full power bar, and you're invincible for 10 seconds.
But anyway, she ends up, like, putting the blood on the dagger in secret and stabs Strife with it.
With a great line. She, like, does her Groucho Marx line of, I wouldn't want to be in a club that would have me for a member.
Oh, right.
Which totally connects back to some stuff we were talking about in our Sacrifice podcast about how Callisto, you know, denies the afterlife. Like, even though she is a god, she isn't into any of that god stuff, which I think is a really interesting kind of perspective to have. So I feel like this line connects to that. She's like, no thanks, don't want to be part of the god club. Do not care.
Yeah. Well, it's a really big deal when he does get stabbed because there's a lot of thunder and lightning and, you know, Olympus shakes. There's, I think, a voice that is supposed to be Zeus. Just going, yeah.
And Ares himself has a big reaction to it, which is fun to see. Like, he's rattled.
Yeah.
He's so full of himself normally to suddenly be confronted with his own mortality.
Right, and then he was all like he was annoying, but he was still one of us, you know.
I'm gonna have to tell my dad about this.
So as we mentioned that Hercules is in a bubble world with the sovereign, so it's up to Iolaus kind of to be, you know, the hero in this
weird.
episode.
I wanted to make a note before we move on in this conversation, now that you brought up Iolaus, because this is completely irrelevant to anything whatsoever, but, like, every time I look at him, right, the front of his vest, it just looks like the blanket that's on Roseanne's couch, like, you know, the sitcom Roseanne, you know, like those knit blankets.
Very specific
like,
to a
what
time.
is that?
Yeah. Well, you know, Hercules' pants is also very
They're, like,
specific.
woven.
They look like your nan's rug, for sure.
Or like a basket you take.
Oh, like a basket. Yeah.
Your picnic in.
Yeah.
Iolaus' vest looks like a rug, maybe.
Yeah.
It's
No,
so
it's the
funny
couch.
to me.
Yeah, no, they're very
throw on the
strange
couch.
costumes. It's weird to me they never kind of updated them. Got something maybe a little, like, edgier.
Anyway, I don't mean to make fun of Iolaus. He's fine.
No, he's wonderful.
I love Michael Hurst.
We love Michael Hurst. And he's a great hero here,
Yeah.
especially
Yeah.
in part 2.
I was very impressed with him.
Yeah, he carries the episode. He's very sympathetic.
In part 1, he's hangs out with Ares for a second, and they both have such big hair.
Oh my god, so big.
Yeah, they have like a hair off.
Ares is in a moment where his hair is so big.
out of control.
All
Yeah.
around.
Yeah.
Everywhere. Just huge.
Very large mane.
Very beautiful.
And then speaking of hair, in part 2, there's a shot that I noticed where I guess Hercules is inside. So usually like there's a lot of outside and like there's wind, right? But inside, he really had some bangs. I was like, oh my god, I noticed his
Because
fringe.
everybody who's the star of a Ren Pick show has to have the bangs.
Yes, he literally has the equivalent of Lucy's bangs, and Michael Hurst has Renee's.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
Tall and small, blonde.
Blondes with
and
bangs.
Less blonde.
They're equally blonde.
Yeah. No, but I mean,
Oh, yes.
Hercules
Yeah,
doesn't
yeah.
have black hair.
No. Well, does the sovereign? No, they don't really paint his hair.
No.
Just the goatee.
Just
It's
that
very dark.
goatee.
Yeah.
I'm you, but stronger goatee. Okay, so final thoughts on part 1. Well, it becomes Terminator. That's
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
You
So-
immediately get where this is going as soon as Ares is like, all right, I'll send you back in time. Go find Hercules' mom.
Yeah, because Callisto, using her godly time travel ways, is going back to kill Hercules in a way that is legal because it's illegal to kill gods.
Yeah, gods are not allowed to kill gods.
Yeah.
But she just broke that with Strife.
She
so.
did, but she's still following the rules.
She's a rebel. I don't know. It's something to do with Zeus. Like, Zeus needs it. Like, you can't just go up to Hercules and kill him. You got to do it in a way that, like, will fool Zeus. I don't know.
So she's like, she's going to go all the way back and kill his pregnant mother.
Sarah Connor.
James Cameron called. He wants his plot back.
Do you guys remember in the middle of this episode when I was like, who's his dad? And I was like, wait, I take it back.
Well, because it makes you think that Iolaus is his dad.
I know, and my sense from watching other Herc episodes is that Iolaus is a man whore. As soon as you see pretty blonde Alcmene, I was like, these two are gonna get it on. She doesn't have a man around. Here's this beautiful blonde man trying to help her. No, they didn't go there. They knew that was weird.
Well, he goes back to Corinth and, asks around, which is by Hercules' like hometown. So he asks around if anybody knows him, Hercules that is, and they're like, what? No. And then asks for
Sarah Connor?
For Sarah Connor, right. And these women are like, oh yeah, the hoe you're, referencing, she lives over there.
They are like that. They're very,
very
shamey.
Judgy and like, oof. And so it turns out that like, they're judging her because her husband was at war, but she's pregnant now.
It's straight up
Cyrene's story.
Yeah, straight up Cyrene from the Furies.
Right, yeah.
I think that's it for part one actually ends with Callisto tracking down Alcmene and fireballing, and you're like, oh shit, she dead, but she's not quite dead yet.
Right.
Cue part 2.
Okay, so this is where all the good stuff is.
Yeah,
part
basically
2.
This is where it's at.
Yeah, it is. Part 2 is story by Paul Robert Coyle, but teleplay by Jean O'Neill and Noreen Tobin.
And we remember them from
One Against an Army.
Amazing.
Nice to see them again. We, in that podcast, talked about how, because they were so successful with their One Against an Army script, they were hired for Hercules. So here they are, writing for Hercules.
Yeah. I mean, this one's, like, better than the other one for many reasons.
Yeah.
I would say a lot of Xena reasons.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny how I noticed that in part 1, Xena is not mentioned. They don't say her name, even though it might have come up with Callisto and Hope
of
around.
Course. Yep, absolutely.
You'd think.
I'm glad that she's all over part 2.
Yes. Well, Lucy is in this one, so maybe that's like, oh, we can't really mention her.
If she's not around.
It's weird.
Yeah,
it's so dumb because they always name check Hercules on Xena.
Yeah. No, the rules are odd.
Disappointed. All right, so one more thing. This one's directed by Mark Beasley again.
Yay, and there are, once again, some very good fights in it. He's our guy for fights.
All right, so what's the overall plot of part 2?
Well, it's a bit Terminator, and then it goes into, like, some kind of crazy dystopia, and that's it.
Yeah. So the rules are that Callisto is time traveling.
Yeah.
So she's going into her, first she's following.
Yeah, this episode has a few different, you actually have to keep up with where we are in the timeline and which timeline this is, the original or the altered.
Right, so Callisto goes first on her mission to kill Hercules, and then once, quote-unquote, she accomplishes this, she gets her reward, which is going back to Cirra.
Or rather, going forward to
Right,
Cirra.
Sorry, yes. Going forward to Cirra and, saving herself.
So meddling with time even further.
Exactly. And Iolaus can go anywhere Callisto goes or back to the present. So that's like,
which means
key.
He can go to Alcmene, he can go to Cirra,
and
then back to the present.
Because he spends a lot of time kind of following Callisto around,
Yeah.
being like, where is she?
Where is she?
Where am I?
And randomly saving people from barns. That is a thing that keeps happening this
How
episode.
many hay wagons, barns are blown up in this one?
I feel like the moral of this story is never go in a barn because you will die in a fire.
That seems legitimate.
I think the moral of the story is Callisto should aim better. Because so much of it is her blasting, her fireball and everyone just jumping out of the way.
I mean, she's so imprecise. I mean, that's true on Xena as well. She just fires these things. They usually hit a rock slide.
She was very precise in Sacrifice, attacking the goons.
That's a good point, yeah.
So
singeing their butts.
Exactly.
Yeah. When it's not one of the goodies, she's suddenly really good. Yeah, I mean, I like her as the Terminator. I think she makes a really good case for why she should be in a Terminator movie.
Yeah, I guess so. I would have liked it a little bit like extra, you know, like the waif from Game of Thrones did a really good job of it.
Oh yeah.
Like you wanted her to do the run.
Well, I didn't want her to do the run.
That's not a Callisto physicality.
No, I didn't want her to do the run. I wanted her to be like, you know, more sinister walking in a more sinister way.
I did like how she like destroys Alcmene's flowers that she's holding.
Oh my god!
And does this really freaky thing where she like reaches out for her pregnant stomach.
Yeah.
And like fireballs it a little bit.
Yes.
Very
that was
gross.
Really threatening.
That was very upsetting. I was just like, ugh.
Can I say one line from Alcmene that was really funny to me? Mm-hmm. Iolaus is like, oh my god, we gotta go. This lady's after you. And tells her all this stuff to make her, like, leave, you know, because he knows what's up and she doesn't, though. So she's like, no, this is all too strange. I can't deal with it.
Oh, yeah, I can't deal with it.
I'm going home.
That's how we feel about Hercules. Can't deal with it. Going home.
You mentioned the really cool visuals of our first sort of, like, chase scene here where Iolaus is dragging Hercules' mom through this field, and Callisto appears. The way that Mark Beasley shot it, at least on Callisto, is, you know, the low angle shot that was previously used on Valeska, I believe.
Yeah, to make her look really big.
Yeah.
It's powerful.
And yeah, you have that bright blue sky behind her. I think you have the sun, like, directly behind her, so she has a bit of a, like, halo effect going on.
I think here it's used very well because it doesn't make her look bigger physically. It just looks cool. Like, you get the power behind the thought process here. She's, like, silhouetted by the sun. It's not cheesy. I mean, maybe this is, like, their way of being like, she's the Terminator now.
It had some style. I think this was the one sequence where I really was like, this looks cool. Like, I'm into this on a film level, not just on a, like, ooh, here's a character I like walking around level.
And New Zealand is really awesome in this scene.
I also thought the way they did the Callisto fireballs a water tank and get swept away.
Did she smell Iolaus in
yeah,
there?
She says she can. That's the god power, is the power of smell.
Just really extra good.
But yeah, I that was new. I was like, oh, they should have tried that on Xena in place of one of those, you know, avalanches.
Oh my god.
Because at least this was a different way.
It's just annoying because she should be able to just apparate out
I know,
there.
it's so dumb. But what about the little part where she, like, dries herself off? That was pretty cute.
I mean, yeah, sure.
Okay, so she incinerates Alcmene in the barn. Anybody have anything else to say about poor young Alcmene? No. Moving on.
Callisto had a line earlier where she said, "Why are you people so afraid to die?" That I thought was excellent.
I totally missed that.
Yes.
That's good.
Given her motivations currently.
Yes.
Yeah. And then who referred to Hope as the daughter of darkness?
Oh, Ares, maybe?
Okay.
It was funny because I was like, she's the daughter of Gales.
Right. And that's just my pet peeve. Because, like, 99.9% Dayhawk.
Yeah.
She is the daughter of darkness.
I also really liked how Iolaus, while trying to convince Alcmene that her kid is going to be not a superhero, but like a big hero, is like, yeah, he's going to save, you know, everyone's life a bunch of times. He's like a brother to me. And I was like, brothers who kiss.
Ooh.
Because they're OTP.
Woo. Yeah, that part where he, like, touches her, like, tries to feel the baby kicking. And it's like, oh, I recognize those kicks.
I know. And then they have the Herc theme,
like a
little baby version. Yeah, it was really cute. It was kind of cute. He also calls Callisto Cupcake.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that was to rile her up, but it riled me up.
It riled me up also. Let's go out to Cirra, you guys.
Yeah, let's get to this stuff. This is the stuff.
So, after Callisto kills Alcmene, supposedly, well, I guess she does.
Yeah, in this first version of the
so the first version, she actually does do it. She goes back forward to Cirra, and Iolaus can follow her, so he squirts that Hind's blood onto another dagger. And, I mean, this is like the Hind's blood dagger from Xena, technically.
Okay.
And he's after her. He's going to kill her with this. So, what's going on in Cirra.
Oh my god, we actually see it. I mean,
Yeah.
the moment when, like, the villagers, like, this is Cirra and Xena's coming, and you're
So,
like,
yeah.
oh no!
I didn't know that, like, it was a known fact that they were going to be sacked, you know? Like, everyone's packing.
She always holds, I mean, this is what we saw in the Hercules episode. She, like, holds villages for ransom. She wants their loot wagons.
Right. So, yeah, everyone's kind of, like, getting ready to leave. It's kind of chaos.
Yeah. And you see her hench people coming in.
They're like giving her offerings and stuff.
Oh, yes. Yes, that was... Okay, well, I mean, this is the scene where she's introduced.
And the shot of her boots.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like a pan up as she's sitting in a throne made out of horns.
Yeah.
I know, weirdly.
Very Dayhawk throne.
I also noticed that Ares in his temple had a throne made out of horns. Maybe they just had a lot
leftover
of
horns from the prop. Yeah.
But yeah, what did you guys think of Xena's warlord costume here?
It's interesting.
It is interesting.
It definitely looks a bit like the dead. You have the long hair and the kind of...
Her hair's so long. I love how unkempt she is. Frizzy.
Very interesting look for her in terms of her face and hair. She looks very sweaty. I know, like, in like in a legit way. Like, I thought it was interesting. Like, sweaty and dirty. Like, she looks like she would
She's been
smell
living in the field,
Yeah. So I thought that was really cool. You could really feel the wildness in her.
I like Lucy's acting choices here. Like, she's doing that, you know, slightly different voice for Xena to, you know, Warlord Xena. But it's not as put on, I felt, as, like, certainly back in the days of Hercules. And even in The Dead, I thought it was a little more muted in this interesting way. Like, I saw more of our Xena in it than I was expecting.
But in The Dead, that was, like, Xena post-Caesar. I feel like here
This
she
is
never...
later.
Does she even, like... Oh, but she went through all that stuff here?
I think so.
Okay.
I mean, we don't really know. This is already an altered timeline in which Hercules is dead. I don't know if
how that affects Caesar.
Being alive would affect Caesar yet.
Yeah,
I mean, it's a little unclear.
I did love her scabbard, which I couldn't tell if it was actually Callisto's from Callisto's armor. Because it had, like, a little bit of, like, that chainmail hanging off of it. It was silver, so I don't know if it was, like, literally the same prop from Callisto. The other thing that's really cool about Xena here that is consistent with the Dead Xena is that, or like even Destiny Xena, Iolaus comes in and they're trying to conscript him for her army and he's like, no, blah, 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 and starts saying all this stuff about her, you know, that we know.
Yeah, trying to convince her.
Yeah.
He's sort of talking to her like she is Xena from Xena Warrior Princess.
Right.
Like, trying to convince her to see reason about, like, helping him because it's the right thing to do. Which, of course, is the wrong argument to make for Xena at this point in her life.
But she got immediately interested in this guy and goes, can you see the future? And this goes like hand in hand with her, you know, like, oh, you have a skill that's interesting. I'm interested.
I want to learn your skill.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like the part where he parries her chakram. She throws the chakram.
Yeah.
He, like, brings up a shield, and it goes flying, and she has to catch it, which was fun to see her kind of catch it in this slightly sloppy way.
Yeah.
And she's like, you know, who taught you that? And Iolaus is like, you did.
Yeah. And he's like, you also have a birthmark, and never finished that sentence.
You want to know where the birthmark is?
Yes.
And I like that Xena's so not thrown by that. She's like, I'm famous.
Yeah. I get naked with it in front of a lot of people.
Yeah.
But he really gets her when he mentions Solon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's the one moment where he knows something that she knows that nobody else does. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's rattled.
This is also when she has that great line where she's like, maybe I'll even find true love, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, Iolaus is trying to tell her what a great hero she'll be in the future, and she's so skeptical. Mm-hmm. And that's the line she uses to show how completely absurd this is, which says something about where Xena's at emotionally.
And
post-Boreas.
I mean, I guess, but like...
Gabs!
That our two writers here just did One Against an Army and then stuck that line in.
Yeah, we appreciate that line.
Thank you.
And I also like the, you know, slightly less shippy but also very moving line where I think Iolaus calls himself Xena's friend. And she says, I don't have any friends.
Oh.
And around here, neither do you. Like, implying, like, you may have friends elsewhere. Maybe you're a friendly person. I'm definitely not. No one wants to be friends with me.
He also warns her about Darkfish, who is here, which is really great continuity.
Nice continuity. I mean, this actor often appears on Xena, so, he's clearly a Ren Pix guy. They can recruit him. But yeah, I like that he's reprising his role.
When Iolaus starts getting through to her, he warns her about Darkfish, and then says that this village can't be burned because there's going to be a girl who's going to grow up to be a monster goddess.
I loved that description of Callisto, a monster goddess. I was like, that's it.
I don't like that.
That's what it says on her name tag when she goes to conventions.
Vera does not agree?
That's a
monster
silly...
goddess.
That's too literal.
But she is a monster and she is a goddess.
She's a broken soul, okay? So and then he just kind of disappears.
Yeah, he says that line about Solon to really, like, level her and then runs away, I guess.
You don't see him leave.
No, he's just like,
he
where'd he
gets
go?
out of frame, like, underneath,
go?
and he's gone.
He's just gone.
So
he failed to convince her, so he GTFOs. Then she's like, well, okay, time to burn this shit down.
Yes, and orders Darkfish to get the women and children out.
Which
there
is
we go.
very important to us. We were really worried, like, watching this with, like, Xena kind of being, like, super hardcore. I was like, don't forget what Xena said about this. She did not order those women and children to be killed, and she did not. They were consistent.
Yes.
Thank you, Tobin and O'Neill. They watched their homework, if you remember, for One Against an Army.
Absolutely,
so we continue to see some very nice moments of continuity.
I mean, you feel these writers know Xena, the show. You know? Like, sometimes you can feel like people don't really... I don't know, Paul Robert Coyle.
Terrence Winter.
Winter.
Did he write for Hercules at all? No.
Not that I'm aware
just those
of.
painful Xenas.
Yeah.
Okay.
The destruction of Cirra.
Let's get to it.
It's upsetting to see. You see people getting dragged off. You see women getting dragged off by soldiers. I mean,
because
clearly...
Darkfish did not listen. Yeah. And I thought that the filmmaking here really was mimicking T.J. Scott. Like, Mark Beasley was really going for the beginning of Callisto the episode.
Can I do a nitpick?
Sure.
Yes.
It's nighttime, right? On the
Ooh, I think you're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
That's all.
It's nighttime.
But they don't film at night.
But
on
maybe
Xenos anymore.
The death of Hercules changed the timeline.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it happened during the day now.
Wow. Okay, yeah. But I think that, you can say that the mimicry of Callisto, the episode, the beginning of that, of Callisto, destroying whatever village that was during the day. So he was mimicking that.
No, I mean, it definitely reminds you of that scene.
Yeah.
And I think, the shaky camera, like rocks
the
back
tilted
and forth.
camera,
Yeah,
like the canted angles.
Yeah.
All
and
that
then, of course,
stuff.
you have Callisto striding through it.
Right.
So you're like, it really looks like that moment. But she's not there to destroy this village. She's there to save someone. And we see the someones.
It was really cool. So she's, walking through the middle of this chaos and literally hears somebody call her name. So she turns. And it's her mother calling for the small version of her.
And this in two great pieces of continuity. I'm pretty sure this is the same actress whom we saw in Intimate Stranger, who played Callisto's mom in that one scene. And also, we have the little girl who played Callisto in that one flash in Destiny.
Yeah. Our first visualization of small Callisto.
Who has that great, turn around, crazy eye shot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Number one vidded Callisto shot.
And she's also appeared in Xena in another role.
Yes, as Clotho, I think?
Yeah.
Clotho?
The young face.
Tiny fate.
Yeah. So, that was really cool. Both of them look very much like Hudson. You could see where
it's legit. They both, I like the acting here.
Yeah.
They don't get a lot of time, but they make impressions. You definitely feel like this is her family.
Yeah, I like this little Callisto. I do chuckle a little at the taller ghost Walt. The actress being a little older.
She's
but it's fine.
older.
She's definitely older. Yeah, it's like, oh, when Callisto was 6, this happened to her. Actually, when she was 11.
So let's get into the crux of this situation, which my note for this scene is very opposite whoops.
Yeah.
Of Callisto's
this is
intentions.
the opposite of what she wanted. I guess one lesson we learned from these episodes is that if somebody runs up to you trying to help you and get you out, like, maybe trust them and don't be, like, skeptical of... I mean, you're not supposed to trust strangers, I get it. But, here both Iolaus trying to convince Alcmene and Callisto trying to convince her family here.
Yeah, they're just like,
none of them are listening to it.
Who are you, blonde person?
Like, get away.
Ew.
God. Yeah.
Hudson's great in this.
Oh, she's so good. I mean, she adds so much. Like, there's not a lot of time. Like, I was amazed rewatching these episodes just how quick the scene goes, because it's so huge in my memory of watching the Armageddon. So I was like, oh my god, it's so juicy. It's so, like, the melodrama. I love it. And then it's so fast.
Well, there's technically 2 scenes.
Yeah.
The first one where she first lays eyes on her family.
Right, and tries to convince them.
She sees the dad and has a really intense reaction.
Which is weird, because she's never mentioned a dad in any of Xena.
And apparently, remember she had a sister that was forgotten.
She had a sister whose scream she heard. She's just gone.
She's not here.
Whoops.
Yeah, but the big scene is when she's in the barn, which is interesting because that's where she killed Hercules' mom.
Right. Stay out of barns, everybody.
This was cool. I mean, she's doing another attempt to rescue her family. A guy runs in.
One of Xena's
goons
runs
but like
in,
a nice goon.
And he's trying to evacuate them.
Yeah,
he's actually following her orders.
Yes.
Callisto kind of just kills him.
Right, because she's like, well, he's trying to attack.
Yeah, he's
so
interfering. Yeah.
She's like in killing mode, and then her dad runs in.
She kills him
and she throws the dagger that she just used to slit the goon's throat at her dad by accident, thinking he was another goon.
Yeah.
Like, now that is one of those situations.
Don't fuck with the past.
No.
I mean, especially because, Callisto doesn't know how to save people. Like, that is just not a skill she's ever had to use. She is so bad at it. Right. She does destruction. That's her first impulse. And I think that's a really great way of, seeing how that has just warped her whole character. She just can't do anything else. That's her first reaction when she's surprised. Kill that guy. Quick.
Well, I mean, it was best intentions, Like, this was a horrible accident and just so juicy as a drama moment, Her mom freaks out, and then she just burns her mom.
She just gives up.
She gives up immediately.
She's like, all right, well.
Couldn't she go back in time again and just, like, do this whole thing again always? Like, that's the thing. With their god powers.
She could try again, but I think this is a
one-time deal.
She tries it. It fails so spectacularly that I think she just gives up. She's just like, I'm not meant to have this. That's how I see it. Her burning her own mother kind of deliberately is so just like, whoa.
I think she jumped the gun big time. Like, she could have gotten the rest of them out. Like, I know that they wouldn't have trusted her because she just murdered the dad, but, like, she still could have done it. But it's not
saving her. She wants to save herself from that trauma, and all she's doing is reenacting it.
Right, but she could give her some lessons and tell her not to spend her life looking for a tall blonde lady to get revenge on.
That would be very strange. Yeah, but I love, this is so perfect for Callisto's character arc, that her reaction to what happened to her family is that she models herself on the woman who did this.
Right.
And becomes the woman who did this.
I need a
fic. And goes back in time and is the woman who did this.
Is there a fic like this where little Callisto one day looks in a mirror and is like, this lady looks a lot like
the lady who killed my family.
Yes. Rule what's it? What is it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Where you become your own grandfather?
No. If you had the thought the fic exists.
Oh.
Yeah.
Rule something.
42?
No.
23?
69?
69.
Oh, my God. Well, shit.
We know what you mean.
There's a rule.
Yeah.
I hope the internet would provide.
They know.
Yeah. It's such an upsetting thing.
Mm-hmm. There better be a fig.
Yeah. And it sucks because this is we never see the emotional fallout from this moment, because I think the next time you see Callisto, the whole timeline's been reset and she doesn't even remember doing this.
Yeah.
Which was kind of a bummer to me.
It was such a bummer. So she burns her mother and then turns to little Callisto and says, "You have to die for both of us now," which is an amazing line.
Yeah.
I mean, she cradles her.
Right,
and
kind of tucks her in, and there's like the camera pulls back, and you have this beautiful chaos shot with like flames behind her, and it was certainly a tragic tableau.
The idea that this is how she'll get to die, by killing herself as a child.
Yeah, little C passes out, and that's why she's gonna like just let her burn in the barn like she was supposed to.
I guess this is the emotional fallout from what happens. That's it. That's Callisto being like, "I'm done."
I guess so.
But I wanted more.
It's insane that this happens on Hercules.
I know. Yeah,
it's like
I mean,
insanity.
It's so frustrating because oh my god, can you imagine if there had been a time travel episode on Xena where Xena goes to Cirra too?
Yeah.
Where like everybody's trying to meddle with Cirra. I just feel
and everyone's confronting themselves in the past.
Oh, it would have just been so juicy and, really speaking to like all the main themes of Xena. Like it is weird being here. I mean, Iolaus is great and his parts are fine, but it doesn't mean as much as it could mean. Yeah. Like him confronting Xena isn't the same as, say, Gabrielle from our timeline confronting Xena in the past. Like that just, there could have been so many great things you could do with this, and instead it's a Hercules episode.
Yeah.
So outside of this barn, as we mentioned, Iolaus is trying to, he's stalking Callisto, and he's really has a moment to stab her with the dagger, but then he hears a cry and rather than kill Callisto, he runs into the barn to save
baby Callisto.
I mean, I don't know if does he know that's whatever. It's an innocent, and he's saving this innocent.
He knows.
He knows. Okay.
He certainly knows after the fact. When he answered to her uncle, who's like, Callisto.
Oh right. Yeah. Well, he finds out.
And also, Callisto's an uncle.
I know.
Is that who raised her post Cirra and his uncle?
I guess. I never pictured that.
Yeah,
I pictured her very weird. Orphaned.
Yeah.
She's very like catatonic at this point, so you can see.
Well, she has the one line.
I'll never cry.
Oh god. Oh right, because he's like, maybe you should cry a little.
Have a good cry about this girl.
Yeah.
And I love that she's very, very from New Zealand.
Oh yeah.
But it works. I feel like she does match the performance in this level of crazy.
I felt a little offended because it's like, Iolaus doesn't really know Callisto, so how dare he give her this advice from what happened as a result of watching Xena.
Imagine if this was Gabrielle giving her the advice.
I mean, I still don't really like the advice, but...
I mean, yeah, it's really actually kind of bad advice. But I'll never cry again is a pretty amazing response.
So he now travels to a new timeline.
Forward.
And how did this Callisto's not here.
Well, this is the present. He goes to the present.
Oh, this is the present.
Yeah, which he can do. I'm not sure where... I guess Callisto's in the present, too.
I don't think he goes into the present now. He goes into...
Xena the Conqueror is the present.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oops.
It's the present I live in.
Yeah, we all live in it now, too.
It's a present to us, this present.
So he arrives in where he doesn't know, but it is the present, and... a lot of stuff is very weird immediately.
It's kind of similar to the guy doing the offerings.
That's true. Another
you have
kind
a thing where
remember
me to the Conqueror. The guy says.
Yeah,
you don't know who that is yet.
Yeah, and the soldiers are walking around. They throw
some coins.
They throw a chicken leg to some orphans who run up and grab at it, and then this guy is a beggar, and they throw some coins to him, and Iolaus takes one.
Yeah, and sees Xena's profile on the coin.
You want these coins so badly.
That's such a good prop. It's just the best prop.
The set is they're in a walled city, and he can see outside the city, and it's just Oh, okay, so it's a walled version of Corinth, I guess. And by the way, never mentioned this, but the previous episode begins with Hercules building a wall at his mom's house, and he's always building walls. Guess what he's doing? Remember what he's doing in the early Xena eps? He's also always building a fucking wall.
And does he ever finish it?
No, I guess not.
What
years later, he's still building it.
He just can't get the funding.
Jesus.
Anyway, back to this. Outside of the walls of Corinth, you see just endless crucified bodies. And it's like, oh no.
It's a total hellscape.
Yeah.
You see that and you're just like, nope.
Yeah.
Nope, thanks.
The weather outside the walls also agrees that it's a hellscape.
Yeah.
It's like the end of Gone with the Wind
Oh,
colors.
No. Oh no.
So, inside the city, it's fun here.
It is the most fun.
It's a good time.
We hear some great music, then a procession of shirtless men.
Yeah, the torsos.
Yeah.
From
glistening torsos.
Yeah.
One of them's ringing a gong.
Yeah. I mean, immediately the music
from
cue is
Yeah.
the chin, like guy from the dead.
And immediately in the costuming,
Yeah.
you see a lot of Eastern influence.
Yeah, so regarding the music cue, I think when we previously saw Warrior Princess Xena, there was like a hint of it from Chin.
That's cool.
But
I
now
didn't
it's like
notice that.
full-blown Green Dragon, I guess, evil music. But
she's
now
the purple dragon.
she's a Red Dragon.
Oh, she's the red dragon.
Yeah.
I love that Thomas Harris book.
Let's discuss the outfits of just her whole regime here.
Everything.
Before we get to actually her, this is an amazing amalgamation of her empire.
Right.
I think it's so cool how this was
Visualized. Yeah.
You can see, obviously, Chin. She's conquered the Far East. You can see Rome. And I don't think you can see Gaul. But it's certainly an amazing...
No craft star kilts anywhere.
No kilts.
No kilts.
But it's just so cool. Like, the soldiers have silver outfits that sort of resemble...
eagles, wings.
Yeah.
It kind of made me think of Rome. And also the purple, the use of purple on the flags. We talked about this for When in Rome. That was also very purple, though I don't think they've shot When in Rome yet, but still.
So it kind of reminded me of how, so many Game of Thrones references, but like how the Lannisters in Game of Thrones, the soldier's armor is based on samurai. So it's not quite, but it's like an interesting take on it. So like you could see there's a lot of Chinese fabric underneath their, silver armor. And then you go to her personal guard, and it's like, this is where I really saw the Rome influence, right? Because she has her own Brutus, who is Darfus.
Yeah, of course. He's
Yeah,
got a great head.
Yeah, but that's the same headpiece as like actual Darfus, like from back in Hercules.
I didn't remember that.
Original episodes of Xena. The plume is, different, slightly different. There's
red in it.
Yeah, there's the red. Underneath his armor, there's also red, and a lot of gold starts appearing. So like the closer you get to Xena, like the more gold you start seeing, which is very Caesar of her.
Yes.
And you see her headdress, which is just incredible.
Oh. The whole look is so gorgeous.
How would you describe it?
I definitely see kimono in the dress, the black and gold, this like really lush fabric. Yeah. And like you can tell they spent money on this. Like the construction of it looks really good. I love how it kind of pulls away from her shoulders, kind of giving her this like silhouette, kind of bigger than she actually physically is.
This does not need a coin in the jar, I feel, because its problematicness is the point.
Yes, exactly. I think that's exactly it. Yeah, we're seeing a white woman in a kimono, and it's meant to be, I am a colonizer. Like, this is my
that's what she does. She's bad.
It's her empire.
Yeah, I'm styling this way, and it's meant to augment my power.
Yep.
Yeah. The bangs.
The bangs are very from Chin.
Yeah. These severe bangs, bright red lipstick.
I love the lipstick.
Yeah. Eyeshadow on point. Like, everything about this makeup is so bold and so good.
The only thing I didn't like is when she turns around and, like, while her hair is in a really cute, like, bun kind of thing.
Kind of an updo.
The back of her head is not as impressive as the front of her head.
Well, she has these, gold, like that dinosaur in Jurassic Park with the fringe that goes...
and spits in your face poison.
That's
that's exactly her, and that's her attitude, too.
That's what she's going for,
Spitting poison in
and Newman. The rest of us are all Newmans to Xena the Conqueror.
Yeah. So it's just really impressive, and just, I think this whole costume situation here, oh my god, it's like one of my favorite things, I think, from, like, all of Xena. Is that bad?
Well, it's telling so much of the story through the costuming, and so much of, like, who this character is. Like, I mean, she doesn't get a lot of lines. Mm-hmm. Like, it's really just about this look. And the look is great. The look is giving you a lot of information about, what happened when she went to China, who she may have met there, what she might have done. Bring out the prisoner, says Xena the Conqueror.
What's her crime, guys?
Bad hair.
That crimped hair.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
So, Gabrielle had time to crimp her hair in prison.
I think that's one of the tortures. Bring
the
next prisoner forward. Heat the iron. Then show them a mirror.
Oh, no. So, what has she been doing in Xena the Conqueror land?
She says that her crime was that she spoke.
She's in the resistance.
Yeah. She is #resistance, which is amazing. And I love that speech that she turns around and then gives to everybody in the courtyard. It's so pure Gabs. Like, I love that she has this tiny little cameo in this episode and makes the most of it. Oh my goodness.
Xena is very interested and comes down from her very high up throne. And
she grabs her by the hair.
And then by the mouth.
Yeah, she's like, oh my god, I must stick my finger into your mouth that speaks words against me.
So my note in the middle of this scene was basically, I see where the fanfics come from.
Yeah, I mean, it's a moment that launched 1,000 fics.
Yeah, it's very sexy.
I totally get it.
Should we let's talk about the whole scene?
Yeah.
And then talk about
Okay, let's go to the end of the scene. Gabrielle tries to bite the finger in her mouth, and there's like a little whoosh noise, which was puzzling. I was like, what's whooshing exactly? The teeth? The finger? Okay, it's just because this is such a Xena thing. Then Xena gives her sentencing. She says that the cure for spirit is fear, which is such a Caesar line, I thought. Mm-hmm. I mean, all of this obviously is Caesar. Yes. She's just channeling Caesar here, where she says you're going to serve as an example. It's basically exactly what Caesar said to her in Destiny. They put her on the cross and break her legs.
Yikes.
It's very good.
And Renee gets to act that moment.
Yeah.
She gets her, like, little Xena
breaking moment. Yeah. It's really intense. It's one
scary
scene. It's about 2 minutes.
It's so good.
These 2 episodes. And
it's why we watch these.
It's basically why we watch these, as well as the Callisto stuff, which is very relevant to
absolutely.
Xena, of course. This sequence of Xena the Conqueror with prisoner Gabrielle basically launched an entire subgenre of Xena fanfiction called Conqueror fic, usually set within this universe, right? And I feel like it's very controversial, it seems.
People don't like the kind of rapey power differential.
I would say that the overarching, like, themes of, like, Conqueror fic is basically, like, power dynamics. And I have here's 2 different paragraphs on Whoosh of people talking about Conqueror fic.
Okay.
Shall I read them?
Yes.
Yes, please.
Okay. So the first is in an essay by Lunacy, just about Xena fanfiction. After this aired, one of my favorite recent developments is the growing number of stories based on Xena the Conqueror, the ruthless version of the warrior princess introduced in the Hercules episode Armageddon Now Part 2. An author named Katrina jump-started this potential new genre with one of the finest stories ever written in Xena fanfic called The Storyteller. In the weeks since, we've gotten some very strong popular stories also based on that premise. It goes on to list a few. combining an exploration of power and darkness with the theme of redemption. These stories are a natural progression from the warlord slave genre, which has been part of Xena fanfiction since its inception. So I like that description of like exploration of power and darkness with the theme of redemption. Is basically very Xena-esque.
Yeah, but this kind of funhouse mirror version of the show.
Right, exactly. And then there's another essay on Whoosh that inspired a website to kind of subtitle itself after this quote. This person has maybe the opposite opinion about Conqueror stories. They are the basement of Xena fiction.
Whoa, strong words.
Yeah, the basement of Xena fiction is the Conqueror story. When Lucy Lawless first played the Xena character, Xena was an evil bitch. She was out to kill Hercules, and Mount set as a trophy outside her tent, and said Hercules turned her into a warrior for good. Conqueror stories presume Xena stayed a bitch.
Oh my god.
Uh-huh.
It's a little bit more than that.
All of Greece, murders people for no reason, and rapes innocent maidens. Enter Gabrielle.
Sign me up.
I'm sorry, I kind of maybe should have content warning some of this, because the content in Conqueror stories is very intense.
We'll include something with
there
this episode.
There are really only two kinds of Conqueror stories. In the nice one, Xena gets drunk, debauches Gabrielle silly, sobers up, and notices there's something different about this kid. We then have a variation on redemption myth mentioned above. In the nasty one, Xena never notices anything special about Gabrielle and turns her into a sex slave. I oversimplify, but not by much. So that's another side to the genre of Conqueror fic. I'm not necessarily on board with that, like, very intense and kind of dismissive and judgmental opinion about it. But definitely, I think that if I was into Xena at the time, I would have been reading it and been scared by it and freaked out.
But
it's dark fic. It's a lot of dark fic.
Yeah. I mean, you want to explore these sides of the characters. It totally makes sense that, like, this would be a way for fic writers to write about something that they couldn't really tackle if you're writing in Xena canon storyline. Because, Xena has gone through so much of her redemption, like, even before Gabrielle even meets her. Like, she's met Hercules and, like, turned over this new leaf and all of that. Like, I love that Conqueror fic kind of allows Gabrielle to be that person to, like, change Xena. It, like, writes Herc out of the story.
Yes, please.
And I'm all about that. And I do think, like, finding, these outlets to explore these darker issues of abuse, like, these are things that I think people, like, don't want to write about in canon in the same way. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I agree. There's been so much change in fandom since the time of this that I am curious to know what it would look like now as an AU, because people would still write an AU of this universe.
I think there would be a lot of fics of Conqueror on AO3 for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I still think so.
Yeah, and I mean, remember that it's just that whole thing of like, don't read. You see that a lot in the disclaimers when you're going through and exploring some of this stuff.
Well, if this is your number one thing, I can totally see how there would be a defensiveness. Like, why are you writing about the characters when they're in this, like, terrible situation? And it's like, your question has just answered itself. Thank you.
Modern day, I think that you would not call it a basement, you would call it a trash can, and I'd be in that trash can.
Yeah, the trash
can with the Conqueror.
Yeah. So yeah, it's interesting. I think this is it's a big conversation that people have had online. You can go look up some of this stuff. So the site that I was referencing before was called The Annals of the Conqueror, and then quotes itself as saying, headquarters of the basement of Xena fan fiction since 1998. And then other sites have the sections for Conqueror stuff. So it's very interesting. I'm reading one right now called The Conqueror Series Take 1 Journey's End by L.J. Moss. That's very good. It's recommended to us by listener Cirra.
What's your take on it?
I mean, it's
tell us.
Good. It's just well written. I don't know. It's definitely not for everyone, for sure. These stories. I do see where that comes from.
I'm reading.
Yeah, your one is good too.
So mine isn't quite the Conqueror, but I can see it's like a version of it, I guess. Not subversion.
Not
subversion. Like another version of it, because it's when fates collide.
Yeah.
Which is
it's
Empress
sort of influenced
Xena.
by Conqueror dynamics.
So
maybe.
it's Infamia. Is it Infamia or Infamia? How do you pronounce that?
Either sounds good.
I don't know. By Vivian Darkbloom and recommended to us by Midge.
Oh, I started reading that one too.
Yeah, so it's just, I can see like how it's very similar to this, but it's like not quite. And because she's Empress Xena, married to Cirra.
Kind of different setting, but same power stuff. Yeah.
And Gabrielle's a gladiator.
Kind of more,
Ooh.
Speaking of gladiators, Xena watches a gladiator fight in this.
Oh yeah, 2 dudes.
I mean, but it was cool.
Thumbs down.
Made me think of my fic, that's for sure.
I mean, it's fun to see Xena in that position where she's like watching the spectacle.
Yeah, and she got very excited whenever somebody was about to kill somebody, and nobody ever does kill anyone here. Also,
what a dumb fight!
I know. Well, basically, that's her take on it. Her scepter has the Chrono Stone on it, as
AKA Green Jelly Rancher.
Yeah. Well, that's confusing.
Jolly Rancher.
Yeah, Jelly Rancher. The first, because wasn't that our description of the Ixian stone?
Yeah, they're all Jolly Ranchers.
So I thought this was for a second like the Ixian stone,
right,
to connect it to some crazy.
I mean, that was what Xena was all about in the Cirra years. I mean, that's when she's going around the countryside doing things like trying to become a half centaur god demon thing. Right. Whatever. Xena never wanted to do that. Retconned. Iolaus steals it out of her scepter.
Oh my god, he literally like creeps up and yoinks it. Yeah. It is kind of humorous.
Way to take all of this character's power away in just like a second. You're just like, oh wow, Xena the Conqueror is a joke. I get it. Fine. Fine. I'll change this in my fic.
So yeah, that's how he changes everything, because he can go back in time again, and he goes back.
Chronostone.
Yeah, with the Chronostone goes back all the way to the barn, and it's that thing where, you know, he's inside the barn with Herc's mom and peeks out. He sees himself fighting Callisto.
And he's like, who is this beautiful man?
It's Callisto's double from behind. She's very bulky.
Yeah. Her wig is very different.
So he is able to whisk Herc's mom out of there. And then the barn explodes, and it's nothing, so everything reverts. And this is where we get that weird scene where he meets up with Callisto, and he's like, don't you remember? I was like the dude who
saved you in Cirra.
Yeah. And she's like, I never got to Cirra.
That didn't happen, dude.
Yeah. So they erased that whole thing.
And the episode ends with a big fight between Hercules, who has come out of the bubble, and Callisto. What did you think of this, Vera? This had a few of your pet peeves in it, in that people were like flying through the air.
Oh yeah, I mean this whole show, did Katie mention this? Hercules seems like it's just people flying around.
Yeah.
With that like wire stunt,
you
know? It's just so much of it in these 2 episodes. It's insane.
Because they're all gods, they're all super powered, and they're all like kicking each other, and every time you get kicked in the stomach on Hercules, you have to fly 20 feet in an arc. I was amused by the moment where they both jump up in the air and kick each other, because that was so, like, Street Fighter again.
I guess. I don't think I liked the fight between Ares and Callisto. I thought that was really good. And also, we never really mentioned the, like, faux sex scene of Ares and Callisto opening the portal.
I mean, we talked about it a little bit, their synchronized god powers, but we didn't talk about it as a metaphor for sex.
Yeah, it was. And they were like, was it good for you?
Certainly some sparks flew.
Oh, God. So, anyway, Hercules sends the Sovereign back. He never came out.
He's still trapped in that bubble. Yeah.
Hercules sends Callisto into the bubble, though she never hangs out with Sovereign.
No, it's weird. Maybe they go to different suburbs inside the bubble.
And then Hercules, you know, he has that Heinz blood dagger and slams it into the temple's
right, which is
stairs.
The shot that we saw in Sacrifice. Yeah. Here you see where it got planted. And presumably he sends Xena some kind of message about, here's where I hit the dagger. Okay.
Yeah. And Hercules and Iolaus walk off as bros. Creepy Hope, like, watches.
Yeah, like, standing on top of Ares' temple, being all, like, Armageddon-y.
Yeah, and my last note is, continuity, ... disappointed! I mean, I don't know how she goes from that to Cocoon. But clearly that must have been on Hercules.
I guess. No, I don't think the character appears again between now and...
Okay, so then I'm really disappointed.
Yeah.
Very, very disappointed.
She just needed to grow up real quick, I guess. Even quicker than she normally grows. I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense.
There's no need for her
I mean, I think, this is one of those things where you have two separate writers' room. They each basically want whatever's coolest for their show. Yeah. So, like, for Xena... They wanted a flesh cocoon. For Hercules, they wanted this kind of ashen, zombie, hooded creature. One doesn't seem like it would turn into the other, but you kind of just have to accept that for the way this story goes down. One of the odd things about these two episodes, Armageddon Now, is that, it doesn't actually feel like it affects Xena in any way, in part because so much of it happened in these timelines that then got erased. You never hear Callisto on Xena referencing any of her experiences here because they don't matter.
Right.
But they matter to us, the viewers. Like, having gotten to see her in Cirra and seeing how badly that turned out for her. Like, I do think it's a really important part of the character. And I'm glad it's there, even if it's on Hercules.
So, which show is trying to get which show to watch it in these episodes? Because it's like, you could see, like, if you're only watching Hercules, you'd be like, they're dangling Callisto in front of you, like, don't you like her? She's all over Xena. Go watch that.
I mean, I think at this point, Xena is a huge hit. I think Hercules is kind of losing heat. And, not only that, you have Kevin Sorbo injured and kind of out for the count. I think this is one of those situations where the popular show has to step in and save
so it's Xena being like, go watch Hercules.
I mean, I think
which we just did.
Yeah. I mean, you're coming in there because you have Renee and Lucy running around in these outfits. You know that was all over the promo. Everybody wants to see that Conqueror stuff.
I mean, they made toys out of that. Like, that's still available. Some of our listeners own it.
It's a scene and a half.
One scene.
Yeah. And it honestly isn't even that relevant to the plot of the episode, the time travel and stuff. It's sort of just like, ooh, like scene setting. This is the darkest timeline.
Right.
Like, I mean, it would be great if she'd been the big bad, not Callisto and not the Sovereign. Like, these kind of... I mean, there's so many big bads in this episode. It's kind of confusing. Yeah. But I love Callisto. But, like, I almost wanted two separate episodes. One with this Conqueror stuff, one with Callisto going to Cirra. Like, these are such fertile
but again,
ideas.
all of this on Xena, not on Hercules.
And all of it on Xena. Yeah.
Well, we did it. We have watched these now. And now we can go back to talking about Xena, the show.
Yeah.
Yay!
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to wrap up and sort of off of what you said, Callisto, she's great, and it's always great to see her, and this was such a dramatic little moment.
Yeah,
and,
I'm glad we're doing this. We are kind of reaching the point where the character isn't on Xena anymore. I mean, I know she's going to come back, but it's a little bit of like a last hurrah. You know?
I mean, her end is
and
really...
what a hurrah it is.
It's a great hurrah. But, like, I feel like the actual stuff about her character growth, like, that's done, Yeah. We don't really revisit any of that. It's an amazing character. I could probably talk for hours just about this arc and, things that I wish it did differently and, places where I would like more. Mm-hmm. But that's for a different podcast.
Yeah. Well, for now, listen to our regular episodes, and you can find them on XenaWarriorPodcast.com.
Also, keep listening, guys. We're going to do other patron-funded
special
episodes.
So many.
This was one of 3 so far.
Yeah.
Maybe we're going to have to throw some more on there.
We're going to do
goals.
Minisode about queer baiting.
Yep.
And then us watching the Xena and Hercules animated movie.
The Battle for Mount Olympus.
Oh.
All upcoming.
Who's going to win?
I don't know.
Mount Olympus or them?
The bird Renee plays. I don't know I don't know what's going on. Anyway, XenaWarriorPodcast.com. All the links to all the things. If you like this podcast and you want more, please check us out on Patreon at patreon.com/XenaWarriorPodcast.
Yeah, if you become a patron, you can get your own minisode.
Absolutely.
That's how it
Anything
works, guys.
you want us to talk about, basically, and then we will talk about it. We have some that we already know we're doing. And if you want to add some more, you can get in there, check out the different levels. We are on Apple Podcasts. Please subscribe there. And if you are so inclined, rate and leave a review. What else? We're doing the tweets at Xena Warrior Pod. We're on Facebook and Tumblr, Xena Warrior Podcast.
The power.
The passion.
The podcast!